Hey, what's up guys? Kalamazi here, and today I wanted to take some time to update you on some of the recent PTR changes that Warlocks have received and how they will impact us in a few weeks when 8.2 goes live. If you're interested in any of the week auras or add-ons you see here, I'll have a link to my Twitch and Discord in the description where you can find them all. Let's start off with the Conflict and Strife Essence changes that were published a week or so ago. Now, my initial hopes were that they would be able to select a PvP talent for each spec and use it in PvE based scenarios. Sadly, once we learned more about the Essence, we knew pretty quickly that it was not going to be a very powerful option like we had hoped. Demonology had been given access to the Nether Ward ability in PvE if you choose, and honestly, there really aren't many great uses for Nether Ward in PvE most of the time. And even with those niche encounters being taken into consideration, we are pretty much better off running a different major glyph as Demonology. Destruction's Conflict and Strife talent is Demon Skin, which is also unfortunately underwhelming when it comes to most PvE based encounters. While having some additional stamina and armor will be useful at times, there's sadly no real reason to select this major essence over the DPS based ones that Destruction is actually interested in. I was personally really hoping to receive Bane of Havoc, as I felt that would really go a long way in addressing Destruction's Mythic Plus issues currently, but sadly that's just not going to be the case. Affliction, on the other hand, is granted the Endless Affliction passive ability when running the Conflict and Strife Essence. Now, the initial version of Endless Affliction actually extended your UA by 6 seconds, however the damage remained the same. This did actually have a few PvE-based implications, which caused a lot of initial speculation on the Essence. The Cascading Calamity Azerite trait is already extremely strong for Affliction, and this Essence made it so that you were able to maintain a very high uptime on said trait, around 90% or higher, even when pooling shards for a Dark Lair. The fact that the duration was extended by 6 seconds also meant that we were able to maintain near, if not 100% uptime on Unstable Affliction, which meant basically permanent contagion. In the most recent PTR build, however, Endless Affliction received an overhaul of sorts. It now remains dormant on the target for 10 seconds after your last Unstable Affliction expires, increasing our damage dealt to that target by 10%, which is basically contagion. When I saw these changes, I had a few different questions, but the main one revolved around the 10 seconds of dormant Unstable Affliction. I was curious as to if the actual UA dot remained on the target, just dealing no actual damage, or if it became a separate debuff with a different spell ID and name that applied the 10% modifier. Sadly, once our final Unstable Affliction expires on the target then does receive the Endless Affliction debuff, which means we cannot refresh our Cascading Calamity like we used to with the previous version. The actual second we cast an Unstable Affliction on said mob, the Endless Affliction dot is then removed, so there's really no way to double dip in a sense for a 20% damage increase. The 10 seconds of 10% increased damage is a buff to the previous version's bonus contagion time in a sense, however. It does make maintaining contagion on multi-target or council-based fights a bit easier, but once again, you'll most likely be better off running some of the DPS-based major essences instead, like Blood of the Enemy. The fact of the matter is that maintaining an 80% Cascading Calamity uptime is not terribly challenging if you're good at managing the buff and your soul shards as a whole on live servers already. There are times where your UA will drop for a period of time due to shard generation or pooling for a Dark Lair, but even if Endless Affliction remained in its previous form, I was not terribly impressed with the trait compared to other DPS-based major essences for Affliction. In the most recent PTR build, Crashing Chaos also received a nerf in a sense, which was a bit surprising to me. It received a 33% bonus damage reduction to each Chaos Vault cast while the trait is active. However, the trait now passively reduces your Summon Infernal cooldown by 15 seconds. The CD reduction does not stack with 2 or 3 Crashing Chaos traits, but the damage aspect does, just like it is on live servers currently. Sadly, the 15-second CD reduction to our Infernal is nowhere near what was needed to compensate for the Chaos Bolt damage nerf, which really does further devalue the trait. Destruction is the king of 2-target / burst cleave, and while Crashing Chaos was sort of still a strong choice, you only get value from it every 3 minutes with your Infernal CD when you're in a Havoc window. While it does provide for some insane Havoc damage at the end of said window with Grimoire of Supremacy, it's essentially a dead trait the other 2.5 minutes. This also made the trait much more valuable or worthless depending on fight duration. The 15-second CD reduction does not really do much to help that case either, as 15 seconds is pretty minuscule in the grand scheme of things. Even if you pair it with the Vision and Perfection Major Essence, which reduces the cooldown on your Infernal, Dark Lair, or Tyrant by 13 seconds passively, it still puts a 2 minute and 33 second cooldown, which still does not change a whole lot, especially considering the fact that you need a full 30 seconds after you cast it to fulfill your Supremacy window. The Vision and Perfection Essence for Destruction, however, does bring with it a few interesting interactions. If you are running a Crashing Chaos trait and a Vision of Perfection Infernal procs on the target, you receive the full 8 stacks of Crashing Chaos, but only what appears to be 8 seconds of the actual buff it grants you, which obviously makes casting more than a few impossible. This is an actual change from earlier PTR iterations where the Vision-based Infernals granted you the full duration of Crashing Chaos. Looking at Grimoire of Supremacy, however, we still receive the full 30-second window if we proc an Infernal from Vision of Perfection. The window is still being reset if we proc another Infernal or summon our player-bound Infernal in the middle of a Vision-based Supremacy window, but we can't really do much to control the RNG based around Vision of Perfection. I'm not sure if this is actually intended or not, and honestly I'm leaning a bit towards it not being, seeing as how Crashing Chaos was recently changed, but only time will tell. Now, Demonology, as you probably saw from the stream clip at the start of the video, is still extremely strong on PTR, but also extremely RNG based. A few PTR builds ago, there was a change made to Vision of Perfection, which increased the duration of the cooldown proc from 35% to 45%, which was actually relevant for Demonology as it meant another Demon Fire cast off the baby tyrants, but that change was reverted back to 35% in the most recent build. Regardless of that, what Demonology really wants is to proc Vision-based tyrants while running multiple Supreme Commander Azerite traits. Doing so grants us the full 15-second duration of Supreme Commander, which amounts to about 3,400 intellect at 3 traits. You can proc random tyrants back to back, which will reset your Supreme Commander buff back to 15 seconds as well. I've had sequences where Supreme Commander has been active for over an entire minute before, but I've also had times where I've gone 2 minutes or more without any Tyrant procs at all. You really want to proc a Vision-based Tyrant right before your player-bound one, so that you're then able to carry over the full 3,400 intellect buff through the entire full duration Tyrant. With 3 stacks of Supreme Commander and 3 Baleful Invocation traits, I've had Demon Fire crits for over 400,000 damage. Remember when those 1 million Tyrants were actual dreams? Well, now we're probably chasing those 3 million Tyrants. Well, I guess unless they actually change the interaction or nerf the trait. I could easily see this going the same route as Crashing Chaos for Destruction, where we're granted the full damage buff, or I guess stat buff here for Supreme Commander, but for only a fraction of the trait's actual duration when you proc Vision-based Tyrants. While it does feel awesome to chain Supreme Commander for over a minute, or proc that Tyrant right when you need to, having this much RNG in a build I feel is too much and actually counterproductive at times in a sense. One thing's for sure, and that's if Demonology goes live in this form, we will easily be the biggest RNG-based turret spec in the game, hands down. Thanks for watching, guys. I do want to apologize for the last few weeks and not really releasing much content, but the truth is, this past month on PTR has been really, honestly boring. The removal of the gear vendor about a month ago and pretty much all essence testing outside of raid testing made actual testing of the new systems pretty much impossible and sort of invalidated PTR. I've been streaming a good bit more and was sure to upload all of the relevant raid testing that I've done, but there really has not been much testing available outside of that. In the most recent build, they added training dummies back to the Proving Grounds, which helps, but we can only test one major essence there and no major/minor combinations. With these being present, however, and PTR most likely winding down, I will be moving forward later this week with my series on both essences and talent builds for all 3 specs in 8.2. So if you want to see that and more WoW content, be sure to smash those like, share, and subscribe buttons, as your support really helps. Either way, I hope this video helps you all get a better understanding of the current state of Warlocks in 8.2 and heading into Eternal Palace. There's still plenty of time left for more class tuning and such on PTR, and if there is, I'll be sure to update you all again. Also be on the lookout for my 8.2 and Eternal Palace guides coming on the line soon after it hits live servers. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to get back to you. Thanks guys, and I'll see you all later this week or on stream. Peace.